What if I told you that the driver who had everything to win was betrayed by his own team? What if Formula One was not just about speed but also about internal conspiracies? Today I reveal to you the truth behind one of the biggest strategic scandals in recent years. Was Oscar Piastri sabotaged at McLaren? McLaren, as a British team with strong national roots, had its perfect commercial banner in Lando Norris. Charismatic, media-savvy, with a large fan base and a profile that fits like a glove with the sponsor's marketing strategies. Piastri, although more reserved, represented a key piece of the team's technical success. A methodical driver with an almost surgical understanding of the car and capable of translating track sensations into useful data for engineers. This duality between public image and internal performance became a latent tension. Everything seemed to work fine. But internally, the team began to divide into two spheres. One that orbited around the figure of Norris and another, more silent but influential, that supported Piastri's strategic growth. It was not an open conflict. It was something more subtle, more dangerous. And it is in that context, with an apparently invulnerable but internally divided team, where one of the most controversial episodes of the year breaks out. Because when a driver who dominates the entire weekend, who appears superior in pace, classification and race management, loses a victory due to an absurd strategic decision, the question is no longer what went wrong, but why did someone want it to go wrong? Qatar 2025 had to be the perfect weekend for Oscar Piastri. From the first free session at the Lusail circuit, the Australian driver showed total dominance, both in qualifying pace and in race simulations. The MCL 39 responded with millimeter precision to each corner entry, and the car's balance was optimal. Everything indicated that it would be the most dominant weekend of his career. He won the pole for the sprint race. He won the sprint with authority. And he also achieved pole for Sunday. Piastri was not competing that weekend. I was running. In a championship where the differences between elite drivers are measured in hundreds, there is nothing more demoralizing for your rivals than seeing a driver completely in control. That was Piastri in Qatar. Not only was he fast, he was uncatchable. And everything collapsed in an instant. The main race started normally. Piastri was leading. Norris followed him a few seconds behind. Verstappen, in third position, maintained his pace but without any real possibility of threat. Then, on lap 7, the incident that would change everything occurred. Contact between Hülkenberg and Gasly forced the safety car to be deployed. And at that moment, each team on the grid made the same logical decision. Take the opportunity to make a pit stop without losing so much time. It was a free strategic window. Everyone entered. Everyone, except McLaren. The scene was disconcerting. While the cars from Red Bull, Mercedes, Ferrari, Alpine, Aston Martin and the others lined up to change tires, the two McLarens remained on the track. Piastri continued to lead, but the advantage became a mirage. The television showed the mechanics ready but without movement. Piastri's race engineer, Tom Stallard, did not give the start order. Nobody did it. The moment passed, and the race changed forever. When the safety car retired, the difference between those who had stopped and those who had not was abysmal. Verstappen, who had changed tires, now found himself with clean air and a compound advantage. Piastri, on the other hand, had to stretch out his first stint, lose time in traffic and then rejoin behind the leaders. What was a certain victory turned into an uphill race. In the end, Verstappen didn't just win. He shaved off a vital number of points in the championship. McLaren, with its mistake, had reinserted its most dangerous rival into the fight for the title. The cameras focused on Piastri as he crossed the finish line. There was no visible anger, just silence, an uncomfortable stillness. What followed was even more disturbing. The team gave no immediate explanation. There was no forceful press conference. Just generic statements about post-analysis and decisions conditioned by real-time variables. But for those who have been watching this category for years, that wasn't enough. Strategic decisions under safety car are made with real-time data, fed by predictive software that simulates tens of thousands of scenarios. McLaren has one of the most advanced systems in the paddock. It was not a matter of lack of information. It was a choice, and it was the wrong one. But what was most alarming was the apparent unanimity in that decision. No one on the pit wall questioned it. Nobody corrected. No one raised their voice to stop a mistake that was obvious to everyone. That's where the doubt was born. Because when a mistake is so basic, so obvious, so costly, it stops seeming like a mistake. And it's starting to look like something else. Something that, until now, was only hinted at in whispers through the corridors of the paddock. In the technical analysis of the Piastri case in Qatar, there is a basic principle that cannot be ignored. The strategy under safety car is not a game of intuition, it is a science based on massive data. And if something defines a team like McLaren in this modern era, it is precisely its sophistication in the use of predictive intelligence for decision-making in the race. During any moment of neutralized racing, such as that safety car on lap 7, teams have access to dozens of real-time telemetry channels. Not only the position on the track is measured, but also the thermal state of the tires, the potential pace after a stop, the exit distances to traffic, the undercut or overcut windows, and above all, the behavior of the overall grid. The software they use, called by some insiders the decision matrix, is not new. It is used by all the top teams, but McLaren has been at the forefront since 2023, working on simulators that run millions of possible scenarios in a matter of seconds. With these systems, the collective action of the rest of the grid is predicted based on multiple variables: asphalt temperature, level of degradation, previous race pace, expected safety car intervals, probability of rain, and more. In that context, the claim that the team relied on the wrong model is no small excuse. Because if they were really running two predictive models in parallel, as some leaks claim, what we are witnessing is a structural division within the same team. A fragmentation of strategic criteria that cannot occur in such a competitive environment unless there is a leadership failure, or worse still, a deliberate manipulation of strategic information. In fact, several sources agree that the correct model, the one that predicted that the entire grid was going to pit, was being monitored by a group other than the one that made the final decision. This points directly to the existence of silos within McLaren. Technical cells that operate with a certain autonomy but that, in this case, were not coordinated in a timely manner. And this raises a brutal question. Why did the decision-making group choose to ignore the most likely scenario and follow the one that made the least logic? At an operational level, this would be comparable to an air traffic controller deciding to ignore the main radar in a storm to rely on visual estimates. In a sport where every millisecond is calculated with obsessive precision, such a decision has no place. And yet it happened. Another critical point is that subsequent telemetry did not show any technical problems that would prevent an immediate double stop. Both cars had a free window to enter the pits without getting in each other's way. The traffic in the pit lane was intense, yes, but the McLaren software also takes it into account. There was no mechanical, logistical, or regulation reason that justified leaving Piastri or Norris out. The only thing left as an explanation is a human decision. And that brings us back to the heart of this scandal. If it was human, it was deliberate. And if it was deliberate, it should be explained transparently. To this day, that has not happened. Another aspect that cannot be overlooked is the impact on tire degradation. By staying out, Piastri was forced to extend his first stint with medium tires on an abrasive circuit like Lusail. When he finally entered, he left behind slower cars but with new tires, getting trapped in dirty air, without rhythm and with no real options to overcome. His second stint was solid but technically useless. The race was already lost from lap 8. All of this leads to an uncomfortable conclusion. It wasn't simply a mistake. It was a chain of ill-founded decisions that can only be explained by a systemic failure or hidden intentionality. And in Formula One, when something doesn't make sense from technical logic, internal politics and individual interests are usually the answer. Now that you've seen every detail, every angle, every layer of this story, the question remains on the table. Was it really a monumental mistake in strategy? Or are we facing one of the most calculated and silent acts of internal sabotage in modern Formula One? Oscar Piastri had everything to win in Qatar. He dominated in qualifying, he dominated in pace, he executed coldly. He did everything well. And still, he finished off the podium. Not because of mechanical failures, not because of piloting errors, but because of a decision that should never have been made. A decision that changed the course of the career. And perhaps also the one of his season. Or his relationship with the team. That's why now, more than ever, I want to know your opinion. What do you think? Was it a mistake? Was it sabotage? Do you think there is an internal war at McLaren? Or are we simply seeing baseless theories fueled by the pressure of a tight championship? Let me know in the comments what you think about all this.